Well, hello there, friends, lovers, middle of winter friends and lovers. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir and you. And we are, as always, but especially glad you are here today on this fine February 23rd. February 23rd, 2025. Ah, man. What a week. What a week. A great week. We're going to share with you some of what our week was about, and we're going to share with you some insights that you need, whether you know it or not, for the week coming up. Yes, today is February, let's see, February 23rd. I've just got to go through my notes real quick here that aren't sitting in front of me. There we go. Today is February 23rd, the 54th day of this, your best year yet. You have got 311 days left. 311 days to make it your best year yet.
311 days.
Oh, man. It's so weird. January lasted about a year. And then all of a sudden, February, it's already the 23rd. It feels like February lasted, I don't know, maybe a week? 305 days until Christmas. But the real question is, how many days until... No, not Halloween. How many days until the spring equinox? That day when the day and the night are equally long, and then after that, of course, the days are longer and the nights are shorter. And moonshine. That song, 70s songs, keep getting stuck in my head. We'll get back to that in a minute. Yes, it is only 25, well, technically 24 and a half days until the spring equinox. Spring is right around the corner. There's a spring right around the corner there, waiting for you. Now, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, for our Australian and New Zealand friends, and maybe friends in Africa, I don't know, does India extend below the equator? Narendra will let us know the answer to that. For you, it will be the autumn equinox, the autumnal equinox, or, as we say in the United States, fall. How many days until the fall? I don't know, I thought the fall was on January 20th, but...
No, actually, India is above.
India is above the equator. Yes. Okay, very good. So you've got spring coming too, although I'm sure it's plenty warm there anyway. So nothing that you are waiting for. And I'm going to jump right to on this date. A couple real quick. First of all, this is the day when children were first given the first polio vaccine. 1954. I thought it was like earlier than that. I think of, FDR had polio, and didn't they, weren't they working on the vaccine then? But no, 1954.
Yeah.
At St. Mary's Hospital in Rochester, Minnesota, many people with polio were treated in the isolation ward. Man, there's all sorts of stories about that. I've linked to that in the show notes. I won't get into the depressing part of it, but yes, the smaller trials began on this date before they did the widespread deployment a little bit later that year. 1950, I know, if you're young, 1954 seems like forever freaking ago, but for somebody like me, I wasn't alive in 54, but it doesn't seem that long ago. What is that, 10 years before I was born. Weird. So, yeah, on this date, we celebrate Jonas Salk and the polio vaccine. Again, look up the story. It's in the show notes. I'm going to jump right to the holidays. I'm not going to do anything else about on this date. But holidays, it's Banana Bread Day. And no, I don't have a slice of banana bread to show you. I don't have food props as much as we did in past shows. Got to work on that. But man, I was just a lazy bum today. I enjoyed, Harry Binswanger's Meeting of the Minds and hung out. And, oh, wait, I did pages and pages of notes for what I want to talk to you about today, too. Just kidding. It's all peace and love. It's all good. And the reason for that is it is Peace and Understanding Day. Why is that? I'll tell you in a moment. But it's also happy, now this is one to celebrate, happy National, how did this get to be national? National Rationalization Day.
Ooh, in a good way or in a bad way?
I'm glad you asked that question. Folks, I did not feed Mrs. Nasir that question. No, Amy's on top of this. Because yes, the word rationalization has many uses, but three main uses, the two we care about. Well, in psychology, of course, rationalization is a way of taking something that isn't even rational or that isn't even true and making an artificial argument for it, like you're rational. But no, going back to the days of Max Weber, the sociologist, arguably philosopher. No, in sociology, rationalization is when you reconsider traditions. Cough, cough, conservatives. Reconsider traditions and say, wait a minute, is there a rational way to approach the economy or the government or anything? I like that. And you hear it a lot in casual conversation. And for the longest time, I thought people were using the word wrong. They say, yeah, Ayn Rand rationalized ethics. And I thought, she didn't rationalize. She wasn't a rationalist. She didn't make up supposedly rational. Well, it turns out, no. Historically, rationalization, at least, again, as coined by Max Weber, or I guess if you're in America, you would say Max Weber. But no, Max Weber, the German thinker. No, this is a term for saying, no, here's stuff that's kind of just tradition. We've always done it this way. Some people have put forward arguments for it, but have we approached it rationally? No, let's approach things rationally. Well, I want to approach that other holiday today, peace and understanding. I want to approach that rationally. I want to rationalize peace and understanding, or I'm just going to say peace and love. We'll get there.
Every time you say holiday, I'm like, Halloween, you mean? Right? Halloween?
You really want me to look up how many days until Halloween, don't you?
I can look it up.
Why don't you do that for us? I skipped that in my show notes today.
I can't believe it. That's the first time you've ever done this.
There's actually a story behind that, but it's embarrassing, so I'm not going to admit that I originally had a longer version of our show notes.
250 days.
250 days.
Nice round.
There you go.
250.
Well, it's perfect because, believe it or not, this is episode 250.
What?
Exactly 250.
Then there you are. Happy
with 250 episodes of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
All right, we should do more.
That's outrageous. That's not even counting the 108 episodes of Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nasir on the Ayn Rand UK channel, Ayn Rand Center UK channel. I'm skipping words. I'm leaving out words. It's like I'm in a hurry. We're hardly even, 5 minutes into the show. Let me slow down. It's Rationalization Day. It's also National Tootsie Roll Day. Everything is invented. None of this stuff comes from nature unless it's, National Apple Day, the gift that the snake gave us. But no,
Thank you, snake.
Yeah, it's Tootsie Roll Day. Now, I mention this because I've got a chip on my shoulder. Yes, please brush that chip off. Thank you, ma'am. And the reason I've got a chip on my shoulder is I want to know if anybody else out there, this might just be an America only thing, but how many of you go to the gym, have a gym membership, and for how many of you is it Planet Fitness? I like Planet Fitness. Planet Fitness, these are great gyms. They're like very low cost, but they're very well maintained, and at least ours is, and newer equipment and really nice. They don't have swimming pools. They don't have saunas. They got a few niceties, massage chairs and things, but I love Planet Fitness, except in the last couple of months, our Planet Fitness doesn't have Tootsie Rolls anymore.
Yeah, I noticed this, and I don't understand why.
So I guess we've got to ask them about it, because I just assumed either they were cutting the budget. I mean, come on, how much do Tootsie Rolls really cost? Or it was seen as counterproductive with the new year.
Right.
Everybody's trying to lose weight. And
that's probably what it is.
But the premise behind Tootsie Rolls at Planet Fitness is that you need that bit of glucose to work your muscles up. And it's a bit of a reward afterward if you hold off until after your workout. So I got to find out, why is our... So if you go to Planet Fitness, folks, let me know. You can mention it in the chat. Stephen Katz, for example, says, I have a Planet Fitness... Have you been to your Planet Fitness recently, and have you noticed, do they still or did they ever have Tootsie Rolls? Either way, today, February 23rd, is National Tootsie Roll Day. The Tootsie Roll invented by Leo Hirschfeld and named after his daughter. Tootsie seems like a strange name for a daughter. I thought that was more of a term of endearment, but maybe not. I have to watch the movie Tootsie again. Dustin Hoffman is great in that. But yes, the Tootsie Roll was introduced in 1896. It just reminds me that things that we think... That kind of, hasn't that always existed? No, everything. Everything but apples was invented.
Can I give you some sad news?
Oh, no. No.
Yeah.
No.
Well, it's actually it's already done with.
Okay, what's the sad news?
The sad news is that prior to the polio vaccine being implemented, it was an estimated about 500,000 people per year died of polio. Yes. I just looked this up.
Wow. Do you know if that's worldwide?
Yeah, it's worldwide.
Yeah, worldwide. Okay.
It's worldwide, but it says in the United States,
500,000 people a year.
with over so in the U.S. it was 57,000 cases, and this is just in 1 year, so it was about a little over 3,000 deaths in 1952
in the States.
In the States,
yeah. And it was not until the 1990s that they regarded it as officially eradicated in the United States.
Well, we're going to be welcoming back polio. Da, 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 da. Well, maybe not. I'm hoping not.
Oh, man. I don't even want to get into a debate about vaccines, but I also don't want to see polio come back. We've already seen measles come back.
Yeah.
That was never fully eradicated, though.
No, there's still outbreaks. But in good news, do you remember there was the YR4 asteroid? It had a 3.1% chance of hitting Earth.
Yes.
And NASA has downgraded that to instead of a 3.1%, it's a 0.28%.
Love that.
No sweet meteor of death coming our way anytime soon.
We've got a friend, online friend, who's always looking at SMOD, sweet meteor of death, as our third option between the left, the right, and I don't know, maybe we'll all just be wiped out by a meteor. Okay, Amy, I didn't know that you were going to find that bit of news, but in my stack of notes here is the weekly progress roundup.
Yes, that's
from
part
Human
of it.
Progress and the Doomslayer. And yeah, you're right. That is absolutely true. Now, the odds of a huge meteor hitting the United States someplace where there were people is actually very, very low. Now, if there are shock waves, if it hits hard enough or if it's big enough, it could still affect people. But it's one of the interesting things about, for example, space debris.
Space junk.
When they do really big launches, they try to project where the detritus, the crap, the space junk is going to land. But yeah, stuff lands. And, there are asteroids and meteors and things hitting the Earth. And the odds of something actually causing damage to human beings is very, very low. That's why it's very sad to mention this, but when airplanes crash, unless they are departing from or approaching an airport, which unfortunately is when they usually crash, but if they're in the middle of the flight, there's just never any casualties except the people on the airplane, because there just aren't that many people on Earth. What do you mean? There's 8 billion people on Earth. Yeah, but it's a big place.
It's a big, big place.
It's a big freaking place.
Well, considering space junk, I really want Oreo to bring back the Space Dunk Oreo cookies.
Space Dunk Oreo cookies. We tried those, didn't we?
Oh, I love them so much.
Was that like Halloween or something? Those came out?
No. That was the horrible Coca-Cola flavored Oreos.
Oh God, those were
awful.
Not good.
But the Space Dunk
you liked the Space Dunk.
Oh God, I love them.
What was the deal? Did it have glitter or designs on the cookie? I see designs on the...
Pop Rocks? They had Pop Rocks in the cream, and it was so great. It's just the best. It was just like a party in your mouth.
Folks, don't tell Amy, but I've got a bad feeling our new Secretary of Health and Human Services is going to make Oreos go away.
I will fight him. I will so fight him.
If you didn't already have a good reason to fight the cabinet of this incoming administration, you can't take
my cookies are the best.
You can't take that away from me. That's right. Get that Fred Astaire song back out, because RFK Jr. can't take that away from me.
Yes.
No freaking way.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Space Junk is a good Devo song. Yes, Ian, you're right. But you're actually quite, if you're saying that the Pop Rocks sound bad in cookies, you're incorrect.
Oh, was that the thing about the Oreos? Is they had Pop Rocks in them?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't remember. You're the expert on this stuff.
You'd bite into it and you'd have this crackly goodness, and it's just so good.
So wrong. I mean, that's so good. Yeah, sure. That's right. Absolutely. Sorry, just getting my chats up to date here. As usual, the YouTube one comes up before the Facebook one. And I see on Facebook we've got Jim and Audrey on hand. Audrey is, I think I saw you earlier on HBL as well. Very, very cool.
Oh, guess what?
What?
I get to see Devo this year in Chicago.
You are going to see Devo in Chicago.
I've always loved Devo so very much. Despite the fact that they preach cynicism in their songs.
Well, especially
Not
their
always.
original premise.
Yeah, their original premise
The
of
original
de-evolution.
premise of de-evolution was pretty kind of bad if you took it at all seriously.
Yeah, but
But
then
you didn't take it at all
they got
seriously.
famous and they brought in a lot of money and they're all very successful.
I'm telling
and
you,
good for them.
selling out is good for the soul. At least if you're starting out with kind of a negative premise.
That's right.
They made money, it cheered them up, and it actually made them good. That's one of the things in rock and roll. A lot of rock and roll bands are destroyed by happiness. They've got something really edgy, and then they're successful, and then they write saccharine stuff. But no, not Devo.
Not Devo.
Devo only got better.
Yes.
Absolutely, yeah. And for the young people in the audience, you might know, they're not even the headliners. MCR, My Chemical Romance, will be the headliners.
Yes.
But Amy, I know you're like all about Devo.
Well, I'll have my noise canceling headphones with me.
I'm sure Gerald Way and My Chemical Romance are going to be awesome. They wouldn't be selling out the stadium if they weren't.
That's true.
Speaking of rock and roll, it is Bradley Whitford's birthday. Brad Whitford of Aerosmith. Everybody always forgets Brad Whitford because of that other famous guitar player in Aerosmith. No, not Steven Tyler. He was the piano player. That's right. But no, Brad Whitford is 72 years old today, and he's still rocking. And I have put a link in the show notes, not to my favorite Aerosmith song, which is probably What It Takes, but no, to the song Love in an Elevator, because Brad Whitford did play one of the 2 guitar solos on that song. So happy birthday, Brad Whitford. Keep rocking out. Speaking of rocking out, this show, this one right here, the one you're watching right now, is facilitated through, what do we got, 3 different laptops going and all these electronics, but the primary machine is a Dell laptop, and it is Michael Dell's birthday. That's right. If it wasn't for you, Michael Dell, this show would not be be happening on a different computer, but would not be happening exactly the way that it is. So happy birthday, Michael Dell. What I don't get is Michael Dell, it says here he was born in 65, which means he's only 59 years old. And it seems like he's been around forever. How is he so young, the billionaire PC maker Michael Dell? So I do love Dell hardware. I spent decades as an authorized Dell service technician, not working directly for Dell, but with all the certifications and credentials. And they make good stuff. I will always be a fan of Dell. So happy birthday, Michael. I hope you are enjoying your billions of dollars, and I think he's still running the company. He took it private, then he went public again, so I know it's a public corporation, but I think Michael Dell is still around. And hopefully he's not like all those other tech guys who are, well, let's just say kissing the ring, and I'm just going to leave that there. Happy birthday, Michael Dell. And yeah, it all adds up to the last element, item, thing for today on this date. February 23rd is World Peace and Understanding Day. Isn't that nice? Now, why is this World Peace? And it's not World Peace Day. That's a military, political, government-y thing. But no, this is not that. World Peace and Understanding Day. It's a Rotary Club thing. These guys got together and they said, we need more time spent together doing things. And we talked last week. There's the eHarmony for Friendship. What was that called again? Do we remember?
Time Left.
Timeleft.com.
And it's a group activity. It's you meet a bunch of people at a restaurant and you have dinner together.
So you're not looking for romance. You're looking for people to hang out with.
Yeah.
And talk and do things.
We haven't done this yet, so we can't really.
I can't recommend the service. I'm just loving the idea.
Yeah, I like it.
And the reason is I want to see more of this. I want to see more of I want to see you Ayn Rand fans out there. I want to see more of this in objectivism. We'll be at Ocon in Boston this year, so you'll be able to, find us there. And by all means, come up and introduce yourself. If I've already met you, introduce yourself again. I'll do the Yaron Brook thing where I'll probably be just like him. We're like, I know I've met you before. And you'll be like, yeah, my name's Amy Nasir, I'm your wife. But, whoever it is, feel free to do that. But I want to see more of that. I love that there are different objectivist groups around the country, but there don't seem to be as many as there were.
Yes.
And maybe it's the internet and people are kind of satisfying their need to exchange ideas with people on the internet. And maybe it's that there are, the big conferences. We got ARC UK doing their thing. Ayn Rand Institute does more than OCON now. They've got several of these events throughout the years, the student-oriented ones, like Ayn Rand Con. But I want more. I want more of you out there doing the things you love to do, but with people, with kindred spirits, with the kind of people who like the things that you like.
Yep.
I think World Peace and Understanding Day, if in the sense that this one, not that other one about, hippy dippy and lay down your weapons, but just people getting together and doing stuff that's worth doing. Started by the Rotary Club. In fact, it's the Rotary Club's 120th birthday today, which is kind of cool. Now, if world peace and understanding, or I'm just going to say peace and love, if peace and love sounds too hippy-dippy, oh, by the way, Amy stopped me, quite rightly, from wearing my tie-dyed, hippy-dippy, basically Halloween shirt.
It was really quite bold.
It's bold, it's garish, which is another reason to wear it.
Yeah,
but
that's true.
If peace and love sounds too, imagine there's no countries. No, if it's too much of that, look at it this way. Peace and love. Well, what is peace? Absence of war. The non-initiation of force principle. Ew, that sounds libertarian, but don't initiate force against people. And peace and love. What is love? Love is values. To love is to value. That's why people say you can't have unconditional love. Well, given what most people mean by unconditional love, I get that, but that's an argument for another time. The point is, you can say peace and love, or you can say just respect for individual rights and passion for values. Well, if you put it that way, I'm all about peace and love, and I hope that you are too. On this fine World Peace and Understanding Day, February 23rd, 2025. This week, under What Are We Listening To? I'm listening to Chris Squire. I'm listening to his song, Safe.
So good. So the Fish Out of Water album is just great to listen to from top to bottom. It's great album.
Peace and understanding, standing right beside you as you're walking down the street. Listen to that song. It's 14 minutes long, but come on. Anything Yes related is going to be epic, right?
That's just extra goodness on top. 14 minutes.
Or just bring up Elvis Costello. What's so funny about peace? I was never a big Elvis Costello fan,
but I'm going to nominate for a good song about this. It's called Ask. A-S-K. By the Smiths. And it's basically about, the lyrics are, shyness is nice and shyness can stop you from doing all the things in life you'd like to. And if there's something you'd like to try, ask me, I won't say no. How could I? Spending warm summer days indoors, writing frightening verse to a buck-toothed girl in Luxembourg. And then he says, because if it's not love, then it's the bomb that will bring us together. Very nice.
Yeah.
So get out there and have as much fun as you can before the bomb comes.
There's a Slater Kinney song called Sympathy. And the lyric is, we're all equal in the face of what we're most afraid of. Obviously, I would never put it that way as an objectivist and somebody who's value-oriented. But they do make a good point, and I think the same point is being made in that song by the Smiths. Yeah, we've all got some of the same stuff. And the great thing about that song by the Smiths, there are a few people, probably not you out there, but there are a few people in our philosophical circles who tend the smallest bit toward introversion or just shyness. A little bit. Yeah, a little bit. And if you are one of those people who is touched by that tiny little bit of shyness, or just if you're like me and you tend to have a really, really big comfort zone, I want you to motivate yourself to get up off the couch. The metaphorical couch, if not the literal couch. Because peace and love, peace and understanding means going out and getting a piece of the action, of what's going on out there, of those kindred spirits, of people you can hang with. the internet's great for that too. That's one of the things I love about the internet, because we can interact with you around the world. Some of you are people that we saw, for example, yesterday out on the Detroit River, which fortunately was frozen at the time. We were literally walking on water.
Like Jesus.
Get out there and walk on water if the river is frozen over, or at least the part of it that you're on. No, get out there and be with people and do things. Get out of your comfort. You know all of this, but I need the reminders, and maybe you do too. Every once in a while, you got to just tap yourself on the shoulder or poke yourself on the back and say, oh, yeah, winter, yeah, but spring is only 25 days away. Time to do stuff. And this was a great week for that.
Right.
Yeah, we went out and had dinner with my daughter at this really interesting Oriental restaurant. Is Ajiten Japanese?
It's Japanese.
Okay.
I mean, you can get anything from, udon noodles to ramen to sushi. They have an enormous. It's one of these places you go and you're like,
it's
looking
a little
at the
tiny
menu,
restaurant
and
too.
It's like, oh my gosh, this is enormous.
Yeah,
this
if
menu.
you think of Japanese and you think Benihana, this is not that. This is a real Japanese food menu,
Yes.
which means I don't recognize half of what's on it.
And you can actually find some healthy things. They have actually pretty good. We had the salad with the ginger dressing, and their ginger dressing is actually quite good. So I was happy with that.
Yeah. Oh, Jennifer's mentioning. I'm just catching up with the chat here that yes, we did go out in the lake. We did not throw snowballs, but Amy, you did fall down in the snow and make snow angels.
Well, I purposely went down and I tried making a snow angel.
Your efforts were sabotaged, weren't they?
Yeah. There was this little cute little dog who just liked to basically stomp on me and stomp at my wings. So I was a fallen angel.
You were too adorable. Mina was too adorable. Listeners to the You're on Brooke show, if you spend any time in the chat, you know who Mina is. The wonder dog, Jennifer's amazing dog.
Yes.
And all too sweet. I want peace for you. Non-initiation of force, but that doesn't mean stay away from people because they might hurt you, disappoint you, let you down, not invite you to their party. No, get out there and get a piece of that peace. And I want love for you. I want values. I want you to figure out what you love in life and then go out and get a massive, huge, heaping helping of it. Let me catch up on my notes here. I got my papers all disoriented here. I was looking in the news, and the New York Times, I know you all love the New York Times, and they had this entry, Michael Phelps journals to find the best version of himself. We've got one epic journaler in Great Lakes Objectivists in our group. Let's see, is Greg in the chat today? I don't know if he's on tonight, but he is the best at this. He's gone like hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of days without missing a day of doing journaling. And he's doing it in the artist's way. And it's morning pages, which is brilliant. Right first thing in the morning, pen in hand, on paper, write down what you're thinking, everything you're thinking. Get it all out there on paper. I know it's all too easy to say. I know what's in my head. I know what I'm thinking. Why would I write it down? Some of it's downright embarrassing. I don't even want to read it later. Well, that's not the point. Getting it down on paper changes it. Externalizing it, getting out of your head. It makes it objective in the sense that it puts it in reality and not just in your consciousness. But more than that, it allows you to deal with it in a way that only writing can. The flow of words, the flow of information. And just putting it out in the world changes everything. So yeah, Greg is epic at doing morning pages.
Yeah, I need to be doing that.
So yeah, that's something we need to do. We've done it on and off. And I say it because we got to remind ourselves to do it as much as anyone.
Greg says 1,352 to
Holy
be precise. I love it.
Holy smoke.
Love it.
So Greg is going on 4 years of flawless morning pages, journaling work. That's
so good.
That's great.
You know, that'll bring you peace. That'll bring you a sense of organization to your mind, and it will, it's so easy to find yourself swimming in your own head nowadays and being frustrated with all sorts of things.
It will, yeah.
But, morning pages, journaling, that's going to help you for sure. 4 years, yes.
It will remind you who you are.
Yes.
I know who I am. Well, are there things that you've always wanted to do, thought you should do, that are really part of your identity, but that you've never gotten around to doing? No, it will remind you of who you are and of what you want and what your values are. And it even makes it okay if you are stalled, because you can then look at it dispassionately and say, oh, well, I'm not just churning and I'm not a bad person. I see now that my values, the thing I want, my goal, whatever it is actually really difficult. And having written it down, I can now see, too, the way forward. Or I can see, no, it's time to put this off and say that's not going to happen until spring, summer. I've got $10,000 to play with, whatever the kind of obstacles you've got are.
Yep.
Yeah, there's nothing like that. So this New York Times article was on Michael Phelps' journals to find the best version of himself. And then the author says, when I tried it, the results surprised me. You would think Michael Phelps, why would he need to do that? One of the world's greatest athletes, and this amazing swimmer who's won multiple gold medals at the Olympics. But no, he says it's extremely valuable. And he says, even though I don't swim every day like I used to, he's not training for the Olympics anymore. There's a lot he wants to do, and it just makes his life better to do that. Peace and love, taking yourself and your values seriously. And the last thing in my show notes is exactly, Amy, you mentioned the fact that the asteroid likelihood has gone down like 5 or 10-fold, substantially.
Yeah.
They figured out, it's very unlikely. Well, it was already unlikely, but it's extremely unlikely to hit us. The Doomslayer is great. I think there's a movie called Doomslayer. There's a lot of things called Doomslayer, but Human Progress, the Human Progress Organization's Doomslayer Weekly Progress Roundup.
I think it's Tony Morley who does this. I don't know him personally, but yeah.
It's so good. Here's one for you that this one doesn't even seem like part of a natural progression, but it is. Fewer people are drowning around the world.
From the year 2000 to now.
The headline finding is wonderful. Since 2000, the global drowning death rate has fallen by 38%. And importantly, the rate has declined in every region of the world, though progress has been relatively slow in Africa. So we need to work more on, teaching people to swim, or at least to be safe around water more in Africa. And they've got charts and numbers, and it's all very gratifying. And you think, 38% and somewhere else, it's not my issue, not my problem. But it's kind of cool. And drowning deaths are common among children. So this is just a whole bunch of kids who are not dying. That's awesome. New AI models promise to accelerate scientific discovery. We found more areas, this was already happening, in which artificial intelligence, it's not even artificial intelligence, because that kind of obscures the issue. The processing power, the computing power that we've got via the systems that run artificial intelligence engines are making discoveries. And you think, computers don't think, so they can't make discoveries. No, they can aggregate data in the same way that we do when we make discoveries. Still takes a human being to read it and say, okay, I can make sense of this. But the rate at which this is happening is accelerating. And I say 5 years from now, you're not going to recognize it. What do you mean 5 years? 5 years ago, it wasn't that much different than it is now. So 5 years from now, it's not going to be that much. No. The rate at which things are accelerating 5 years from now, you won't believe what AI is doing and what problems it has solved.
I do hope so. I mean, the one particular example that they give is solving the problem of antibiotic resistance. Mm-hmm. That's something worthy of looking into. That's amazing.
And it's going to be great. The only downside is that I shouldn't get into politics. The only downside is I worry a little bit that AI will be the next Dagny Taggart, keeping the world afloat despite what all of the our Mr. Thompsons are doing.
Our political cretins are doing. Our
political cretins. Pick your poison, whichever ones you want to talk about. We are equal opportunity loathe and despisers here of the left and the right. So Yes, AI will save us from ourselves, or at least give us the means to save ourselves from those of us who we need saving from.
Yes.
So, what's going on in the chat? What have I missed here?
Jim Ashley has a lengthy question. Basically,
Yes.
you know, yeah, he loves the idea of objectivist group or like-minded people getting together. But what about all the splits and
Love that you brought that up, James.
the People's Judean Front and
the
all
author,
of that. The
Jim Ashley.
splitters.
Well, first of all, the answer or the solution to this, the right way to handle it, is to bring the concept of values back into objectivism.
Yes.
Michael, I forget his name. Maybe I shouldn't give out his last name, but there's an objectivist out there. He's not a big, prominent objectivist intellectual, but a lot of people know him. He's got a charming family, and he's a Trump supporter, or at least he likes a lot of what the current government is doing. But he posts pictures of his life and his kids and the things they do and their home, and he's value-oriented. He doesn't post anger and screeds. He doesn't post memes making fun of the left or the right. And that's what I want to see. And from both sides, whether you are for or against, or hopefully have a somewhat nuanced interpretation of our current government. I loathe and despise it, but you might be a little more in the middle. And the point is, the answer there, Jim, is to find reasonable people who have at least some measure of grace, of graciousness, civility, who are focused on what matters. And what matters is not the headlines in the news. That stuff matters out there. It matters in Washington, D.C. It might matter for who you want to call, write letters to, send money to, advocate for, and then get back to your day-to-day life. And there's a lot of them. There's a lot of us out there. So when you run into people who've got a massive chip on their shoulder and all they can do is complain, all they can do is be angry, let them go. Put them in your rearview mirror and keep driving down the street. Now, there are people who are really hurt by what's going on. And some of them are willing to share that. And some of them lash out in response to it. And there you got to be careful. Because if somebody's really hurt by what's going on and they're lashing out in anger because of it, I don't want to criticize them too harshly. But at the same time, we're all adults. And whatever we're going through, the bare minimum is we should act like adults. We should have some degree of civility, some degree of grace.
Yeah, I recently, let me see here if I can't find it. Yeah, we have a Facebook friend. He's objectivist. He's trying to figure things out. He's trying to basically talk reason with people on Facebook. First of all, again, we'll say this again. Arguing with people on Facebook is not going to be the same situation as arguing with them in real life. It should be, but you're right, it's not. It's not. It should be a lot more considerate and a lot more patient. Yeah, the distance should not be an excuse to behave badly. Yeah, if you're sitting with a person face to face with them, there's going to be more consideration and patience. But so anyway, this one gentleman, he was really kind of in the depths of despair, and I just said, I want you to know that this particular situation is significantly harder to not get distracted by. It's not just you. So I mean, it's really important. When people are confounded and morally offended by so much that's going on right now, and it's really getting to them, just remind them that they're not alone. And so anyway, I went on to talk about some problems, and I said, so it's reasonable to be boiling mad. I'm trying to keep my focus on my values as much as I can, but it's hard. I'm giving myself a lot of leeway. So I'm trying not to beat myself up over whatever I post, or if it's political or not, or but you also have to realize, and I realize that everyone's on their own journey. Everyone's going to, the more rational people who are not quite thinking right now are, put them in a crock pot, let them simmer for a while. They might just come out good as new, and thinking straight. And, and the same ones who are kind of reactionary right now, who are just so fed up and so unhappy, and they're kind of resorting to cynicism. Put them in a crock pot, give them a little while. They might come out just fine. But yeah, it's really important that we focus on our values and not become, the hurt people kind of people.
Yeah, hurt people.
Yeah.
Well, I'll share you with my Post-it note, because my Post-it note just says no, with a smiley face in the O. And the reason why I have no with a smiley face in the no, I was going to originally write the word indignation. And it's a trick that I use with myself. I recommend it to people, even though I've been told it's a form of toxic positivity, and it can really go wrong and make people feel guilty and have all sorts of negative effects. So be very careful with this one. It's a loaded weapon, but when you encounter things that make you indignant or angry or sad or disappointed or worried or scared for the future, whatever it is, what I do, maybe I shouldn't even say you should do this. This is dangerous stuff. What I do is I get indignant with myself for taking them that seriously. And I don't mean taking seriously as in believing in their reality and what I've got to do to fight them, all that, but for letting them matter that much.
Right.
Let me pick an example. Try to imagine a politician. I'll pick, how about Marco Rubio? I'm intentionally not picking any of the heavy hitters on the left or on the right. So I'm just going to pick I'm going to pick Secretary of State Rubio. When I think of Marco Rubio and all of the reasons to loathe this person, who I used to think was a reasonable person, would have been a good candidate for president back in 2016 when he was running, all sorts of things that he did and said at the time, he seemed like this is a good guy. I was wrong about that. But when I think of Marco Rubio, rather than get angry and indignant at this two-faced, compromising, really smart and able and capable, but that just makes it worse, guy, what I do is I get indignant with myself. I say, no, Robert, come on. You're going to let that guy matter that much? Ha! No, I'm not. It matters, and I'm still able to read the news and say, oh my God, I can't believe he did that. That's a bad thing. I'd better watch out for what's coming next. But that's my attitude on reading the news is, oh my gosh, that's a bad thing. I'd better watch out for what's coming next. Not, oh no, it's the end of the world. If this keeps happening, it's all over.
Yeah.
I get that, and I feel that, but no, I'm going to get indignant. I'm going to get frustrated with me, with myself, and say, oh, Robert, I can't believe it. You let yourself fall for that. You let that guy, that gal, that person, that news story, that event matter that much, where it really hit you like a gut punch.
Yes.
And I could give examples of that, but it would kind of defeat the purpose. I think you know where I'm coming from and where I'm going with that.
Yeah, and again, Facebook, it's not really real. It's not one-to-one person.
It's not that big. It's big. Like I say, don't dismiss everything. Don't evade. Certainly don't evade. And don't say none of it's happening or none of it matters at all. But what should be the big stuff in your life should be, the stuff in the doom pages and pages of the doomslayer, the good news,
right,
of which there is a ton out there. But even more than that, if there was no good news or if it was all good news, either way, what should matter is your mom or your daughter or your dad or your girlfriend, your boyfriend, or just your buddies, your gal pals, real people, real life, and even your time alone doing the things that you love. God, that stuff matters. That stuff's crucially important. And that's where you want to look and say, oh, okay, this is the good stuff. And you can look at your journaling and you can look at your notes and you can look at your plans for the future and say, I want even more of that. I could put a lot of energy into fighting whoever, Putin or Xi or what's his name, the president of the United States. Or you could put that time and that energy, that psychic energy, that emotional energy, that spiritual fuel into your own stuff.
Right.
We all love that feeling of purpose, doing something with purpose, with meaning, something that matters to you. And sometimes we'll pick world events and it becomes a substitute for purposeful action. We feel like paying attention is doing something. And there's a reason for that. You do need to know what's going on. You need to be aware of what's going on in the world. But you also need to know how small a part of your world that is. So don't feel guilty if you catch yourself getting drawn into the news and I just spent an hour reading. But do be aware that, okay, I gave that more attention than it deserved. Let's pull away. Let's get back to me. Let's get back to my values. Let's get back to my peace and love, my life and my values. That would be my answer to that. And I went on kind of long there, but I know there was more in the chat going on too.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like Gary on the Facebook chat, he says, wow, that's some serious wisdom.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate that. And if you see Gary in the chat, you should be friends with him, by the way. Good person to be friends with.
Great guy. We know him in person. Christian says, I think highly of someone, and then they do something that contradicts my expectations, and then he gets annoyed. That's very understandable. It is hard to communicate through Facebook or the socials. It's just hard. I mean, call them up on the phone if you really feel like you really care about them, or see if you can't meet with them face to face, even better, or on a Zoom call. But it's really hard right now because there's all sorts of failure modes going on in different ways, and you're like, well, what's going on with this person? And sometimes you won't know. Yeah,
and Christian's got the right idea, because he says not mad though, annoyed. He says not mad though unless they're committing an injustice. So that's good. And sometimes it's a little too easy to decide that something annoying is an injustice, but no, you've got the right idea there. It's okay to you should be annoyed. You shouldn't repress your reactions to things. But where do you go from there? That's good. And because it's you don't want it to affect you to where you become dysfunctional in your own life and your own values, and your own routines and your own self-care. Sorry, Greg's making puns in the chat. He says, call Trump and lead with the right card. Yes. You hold the Trump card. Yes. I don't like the idea that I hold the Trump card right now, but I get what you're saying. You're right. That is the right idea. Tom says politics matters, but it's mainly a distraction. Yeah, it does matter. You got to stay in touch with your world. You got to know what's going on out there. And in some ways, you got to prepare.
Yeah.
There are things that I'm doing financially right now based on what's going on in the world. There are things that I am planning for the future based on what's going on in the world. But, you make those plans, you do those things, and then you let it go. They say, you got to pay attention to politics because, you may not care about politics, but politics cares about you. And there's truth to that. The stuff that goes on in politics will affect you. So, be aware, be in touch, do what you've got to do about it, but don't think that you devote the rest of your life to politics, because the impact you're going to have is trivial.
I have a funny idea in my head, and I think it's true. If things get really bad and really rotten, and things actually start affecting us personally in our everyday lives, like our assets are frozen in the bank or something crazy, or our taxes are raised astronomically.
It's a good thing I keep all of our cash in my pillow. Oh, wait, I shouldn't have shared that.
Sure. Just things, catastrophic things. You know what? This is kind of crazy to say this, but I think it's true. I could turn to many of my Trump-supporting friends, the ones who voted for him and the ones who might be kind of on the fence now or maybe not on the fence. I could actually turn to these people and say I need help, and they'll help me. And which is...
That's an interesting point. And that will sound a little crazy to some of our friends. I know it will, because it sounds crazy to me that we have friends who are Trump supporters.
Yeah.
Some of you, that won't sound crazy to you, are Trump supporters, but those of you who are not might be surprised by that. Heck, we've got a close friend who's even a RFK supporter, a couple of them, I think.
Yes.
So, point is,
Yeah.
anything can happen and probably will. No, the point is that, yes, it's complicated, and it's okay that it's complicated. And you can deal with it. I know you can deal with it. If anybody can deal with it, if I can deal with it, you can deal with it. It just takes a little bit of that detachment to be able to say, okay, politics matters kind of a little out there, but God, my life, this life I'm living, this is so much bigger
Yes.
than anything out there, which should be your attitude, incidentally, about even the real problems in your life. This too will pass. This too shall pass. You are bigger than anything. If you are still alive, you have survived. You are bigger than anything that has ever happened to you. Which does not mean, to minimize the damage and the harm you've been through. If you've been hurt before, it matters. But you contain multitudes. You are massive.
Yes.
You are bigger than anything that's ever happened to you. I know I am bigger than anything that, for example, just to pick an example out of thin air, anything that the current administration in the United States is going to do over the next 4 years. Some of it might be really bad, and I'll have to do stuff about it, and I'll need to compensate, and I'll need to fight some of it, but at the same time, it's just that. And me, my values, my wife, my daughter, my mother, my house, my car, my guitar collection, just everything about me is so much bigger than any of that, and this is true for you too. I hope you feel that. I hope it's in your blood, in your bones, and viscerally. I don't mean to blood and soil and all that crap, but
No.
just I hope you feel it viscerally that God, there's so much I love.
Yeah.
And the things that threaten that, I hate it, and I'm going to fight it because I care about the things I love. But God, my values, the love, my peace and love is first. It's primary.
Yes.
It's what matters.
Yeah, I say to myself, my values are exponential. They can exponentially grow, and they do. I've seen it happen, and especially when I'm working with other people who have the same goal as I do. Yeah. Christian in the chat on Facebook, he says friendship is magic like that.
It is.
It is magic.
Well, like you say, values are exponential. If that's not clear to you, consider when you achieve something. Oh my God, you've got the thing. Oh wait, you've also got the experience of having achieved the thing. Now you've got self-confidence. Oh wait, now you know you're able. You've actually got self-esteem. Oh wait, that thing that you achieved can be built on to the next thing. Yeah, values are exponential. Every good thing you do has network effects.
Yes.
Bad things you do too, but the network effects of those are smaller, and
Right.
it's easier to cut them off. So don't take that stuff, the negatives, too seriously. Values are primary, but do achieve as much good as you can so you get that exponential value experience.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah. Oh, did I mention that it was? I completely forgot. It's John Wright's birthday.
John Wright's birthday.
John Wright is probably my favorite drummer, I'd say. He is the former drummer of No Means No, and now he has his own band called Dead Bob. That's the band that we saw late last year, and that I freaked out over, and I became a complete fangirl, and I had no means to say anything because I became suddenly totally shy.
Yeah, I don't remember which episode that was, but if you missed that episode of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, in which Amy shared her story of meeting John Wright of No Means No.
It's his birthday today, so happy birthday, John Wright.
Happy birthday,
May you
John
keep
Wright.
drumming all the time.
That did not appear in my list of celebrity birthdays, which
Nobody knows
which
who he
is a
is.
real crime.
It is
That's
a real
an outrage.
crime. I know, you've
Yeah.
seen him. You saw how good he is. He is damn
Excuse me.
good.
I mean, how many of you actually knew who Brad Whitford was? All the Aerosmith fans know, but anybody else? No, John Wright should be making those lists. So, Amy, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, Christian in the chat on Facebook, he says, R.I.P. Bob.
Yeah.
Don't worry, Dead Bob isn't actually dead.
It's a quirky band name, but it's a quirky band. Folks, thank you for joining us. Again, just had to put some peace and love out there.
Yes.
I know you hear hippy-dippy stuff like that and you cringe, and I do too. But every value that's out there, you can decide to take it in, understand what part of it's actually a value, squeeze all the juice out of those lemons. We did just see the Led Zeppelin biography after all, and make it your own. Either way, peace of mind, peace of the values that are out there. And love is values. Peace and love to you all. Folks, thank you for joining us. This has been 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir.
Yes.
And we're keeping it, I think we're going to keep it under the 12 times 5 minutes mark, which is unusual these days. We seem to run long, even when I plan a short show. Thank you. I've got a few things in the chat that I didn't address, but I'll be reading all of your chat comments afterward. And I will also be harvesting the ideas in there for future episodes. If you have ideas for future episodes of 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir, things you'd like us to talk about, things you'd like us to address, things you'd like us to apologize for, make sure you put those in the chat or by email or on the socials. We are just begging for identity theft by making ourselves real and out there. But point is, you can find us everywhere. No. You can find us on the Facebooks and the internets and all of those things that aren't actually plural. One more thing I got to say. I got to say a double thank you to those of you who are patrons of the show. If you go to patreon.com/Robert Nasir, you can see the patrons who support this show, and you can become one of them. If you want to send us $5 every month, $50 every month, 50 cents every, I don't know if you can do 50 cents, whatever they allow you to do. Thank you to those of you who have chosen to do that, who keep all of these studio lights on in order that we can do these beautiful productions on all this professional equipment. Although we're 5 years in, I don't know, maybe we're due for an update. Folks, let us know if you think you should get one of them fancy cameras like Yara and Brooks got.
That's
or
right.
Something like that. But thank you. And even if you're not a patron of the show, even though you should be, but even if you're not a patron of the show, please do like the show on YouTube. And if you're willing to do it, if you're willing to risk your reputation, share the show as well. Share this episode and say something pithy about it, like, they never got around to addressing my chat comment, or something maybe perhaps more positive than that. That would help things as we try to increase our subscriber count. One of these days we'll get up to 1,000 subscribers, even though we're not really that close to that right now, but that will enable us to enable super chats. In the meantime, patreon.com/Robert Nasir is how you can support the show financially.
That's right.
And that's it. I'm going to keep it under the top of the hour so y'all can get on to watching, I don't know, whatever's happening at 1900 hours Eastern Standard Time. Or just let you get back to your day, your values, writing this script to your one irreplaceable life. And all that's left to do is for me to wish you, excuse me, I wish I had a cough button handy, wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve, everything that you have earned, everything you've ever done, and everything that it's adding up to. Can you believe everything you've ever done added up to this moment? We must have waited all our lives for this moment.
Yes.
And this is the moment then for us to say,